G'day Syntropic growers, this is Farmer Jones again, central sunny Queensland, just north of Gympie. And this is video number 30. And I thought I'd just have a little chat about our bed formations or preparations for a syntropic system. Now we're juggling a couple of different ideas here. Now, as you recall from one of our previous videos, we decided to extend the difference between, or the distance between the tree rows from 3 to 5 meters, and that enables 3 crop rows between each tree row. However, on video number 24, if you recall, I was complaining about not producing enough biomass to feed our trees, because this is a very hungry system. So what have we done? Here we've designed 2 veggie rows. And normally there'd be another tree row over here, but of course we've got our polytunnel in the way. And you'll notice that these veggie rows are raised up a little bit higher than this row here, and this is wider and flatter. So this row here we've decided will be dedicated to biomass production, and so we don't need this bed raised up high. In fact, it can be just flat. And why do we need it flat? Well, to easily sidecast the hay or the guinea grass or whatever type of biomass you choose to produce, you could run down there with a mower, and in 3 minutes flat you've sidecast all your hay over to this tree row over here. And that's an efficiency, as I've mentioned before, and we're all about saving time and money. And if you're a small poor dirt farmer like me and you can't afford workers and wages, well, this is a quick easy way of growing your hay or your guinea grass or your bunna grass on site. So we would cast cover crop or whatever type of biomass you intend to produce onto this row without any irrigation, and then we'll just cover it with a little bit of hay, inch or 2, and it's easy for that cover crop to push through the hay. So notice on our veggie rows here, they're a little bit higher, and we reckon veggie roots need about 15 to 20 centimeters at least of soft soil, so their roots don't flat pan out on a hard clay pan. So we've produced these rows with our tractor and a rotary tiller. Now, if you recall in my past videos, I'm preaching against till and kill. So why did I till here? Well, the reason was that these rows have been in fallow for 2 years, and this high in weeds and grass. And we find that after a lengthy period of time like that, we really need to start again, because it's full of grass clumps and the soil is often compacted. So to begin a fresh system for the first and the last time we till. So we've also added 3 or 4 bags of fertiliser per row and rotary tilled it in, and by doing this we've killed hopefully most of the clumpy grass roots. Now, just to give you an idea of how annoying these grass clumps are, here's one right here, and I'm here to tell you that's rock solid, and that is going to take me 10 minutes with a mattock to dig that bloody thing out. Yeah, I couldn't get my tractor tool in this tight, of course, but you notice it took out all the other grass clumps pretty well. So this is, after 2 years of fallow, this is what we're trying to remove. And you might be starting on virgin ground too and have existing roots and grasses that just need to be removed. So that's the setup. Now, why is my tree row different? Now you notice my tree row is also raised quite high, and I've gone down the middle with a ripper tine. Now we reckon if you go down the row a couple of times with a ripper tine, you've dug a nice little water retaining trench, deep enough, hopefully around 300 to 400, 500, 600 deep, depending on your tractor and your tine. And that will create a very easy channel for roots to chase down and get established, rather than going into perhaps a hard clay pan under that row. So also notice we've got a nice little valley shape, and this is just simply easier for us to plant our trees into here, and it's just digging out and planting right down as deep as we can, and then running a bit of irrigation down in the middle of the valley there. We want the rain to catch in the valley, so that's another little water trap, concentrating the rain directly onto your tree roots, rather than the rain falling off the sides. Now some people have a row even 1 metre wide, maybe 1200 some people, and they like it flat and it's gently curving into the centre. That's also a very good idea. And you might not want a single row of trees, you might want a zigzag pattern, or you might want 2 rows of trees in there. It just depends on your system. But whatever you do, how wide your row is, make sure that the rows gently slope down to the centre to catch that water. So just a few thoughts on irrigation. Now, Syntropics, the promise of Syntropics is that it will be successful without irrigation. And that's brilliant. And that's the name of the game. We've saved money, we've saved time. It depends on the rainfall in your area. Now in central Queensland here, north of Gympie, we get about 1 metre a year, that's 40 inches a year. And it comes really heavy. But then we'll get a long dry winter, and that can be sometimes 8 months without a drop. We've had some pretty harsh droughts here in the last 10 years since we've been here. So being a small commercial grower, we don't like to take any chances. And the trees are expensive, we don't want to lose them. So we've trialled 2 different kinds of irrigation. Now here we have drip tape, 16 millimetre drip tape. Now the interesting thing about these drip tapes is there's a little slot, a little hard to detect on the camera there, but there's little drip slots every 10 centimetres like that. And that's really great because you can put 2 of these either side of the tree, and you can plant your tree in the middle with your banana, 1 tube here and 1 tube here. And you're guaranteed to get water along the entire length of the row. It acts like a soaker hose. And you can indeed increase just the amount of water around your bananas, which you're going to need a bucket a week at least, just by taking a knife and just making a little tiny cut there, so that it sprays a little bit more than just the normal drip. And hopefully, while this small plant gets a cup, this plant gets half a bucket or a bucket in the same time. So we have struck a problem. Now these bananas grew so fast in our system over there, if you just look over there with the camera, that they grew over this T-tape and clamped them shut. So this is what we discovered, that those rows over there have for 6 to 8 months not received any irrigation because the bananas had grown over them so quickly. They clamped them shut and stopped the water getting down to the bottom. So that was both bad news and good news. So the bad news is my little trees weren't getting enough and they were struggling. The good news is, if you have another look over there, it is looking fantastic just on the rain. So at least 45 metres of those rows have not received any serious irrigation for some time. So that's the good news, because it means that Syntropic has lived up to its promise in doing well and successfully just on the rain. Now this is something for you to think about and a risk for you to take in your system, because irrigation is expensive. But can you imagine if you could get away with not spending that money? And as we know in Syntropic's cardinal number rule, is we have lots of mulch covering the soil so the sun doesn't dry the soil out. Now some people have their rows on flat ground, and like me here, I do it on raised beds because we do get such heavy rains. And we like to grow a lot of citrus, and they don't like wet feet, and a lot of papaya, and they don't like wet feet. For that reason we raise them up off the ground a little bit. The other good thing is it catches the water in the walkways and lets it soak in during really heavy downpours. We're a subtropical area here and the rainfall can be almost all at once. So what's a solution to this T-tape problem? Well, there's the option of just doing it for the first couple of months and just helping start the little babies off, the little baby seedlings and trees off, and then pulling it up and removing it. Or you can do option number B. And this is soft density 1-inch pipe. And in our first orchard, we used one of these, just down the center of the row. And how we put those on, you have your header pipe here. And there's a little saddle that goes over that. And then we have our little barb. And then we put a little bit of pipe. You need a lighter to heat the end of the pipe up to go over the end. And then we do the same and we place our tap about there. Now what's good about this inch pipe is that in the 5 or 6 years that we've had our original orchard, the bananas of no tree has grown over this. We've left it to one side a little bit and the bananas have just pushed it out. We've made sure that it's not close to the base of the bananas. But then we use a little piercer, and there's two options here. There's option 1. We pierce a hole, we just screw that in, and we leave the tube long. And you can tuck it under the mulch, under the tube, and put that wherever you want. You've got some movement here. And I'd suggest you do hide it under the mulch, because if you're cutting with a whippersnipper, you'll whack that off every time. So you can do, as the plant grows bigger, you can put the tube over that side, or you can put the tube over that side. Now that will leak at least 10-litre bucket in under 4 minutes. It's very, very quick. So for bananas and larger fruit trees, this is an easy and a cheap idea. But what about if you're planting small seedlings or shrubs or any other type of plant that's not quite the size of a banana? Well, we have this other option here. This is a little nozzle sprayer. And the good thing about this, it'll put out a little spray about that wide. Once again, you just use a piercer and then screw that in like that. And that will just do a little spray. And we often use these with our baby papayas, which might only be about that big. And that'll just soak maybe 5 or 6 cups in the same time that the banana one leaks a whole bucket. And this is important because you don't want to be wasting a whole bucket of water on a little tree this big. Now, the other great thing about these little spray nozzles is that they can twist shut. So if you lose a seedling for some reason, or you lose a little baby papaya or some other tree, while you're waiting to replant, you can turn that off so you're not wasting water. So there's our 2 options that we use for the inch pipe. Ultimately, we think this is the best way to go. After trialling both, we think this one is the best way to go. So we have not had to remove this pipe on our old orchard in 6 years. However, we've had to cut and rejoin the T-tape in that orchard, or that Syntropic system over there. So there's some thoughts on irrigation. And there are other methods that you can use. Overhead, you can use wobblers, you can use Sumi Soakers. But we generally find the Sumi Soaker is best to start seedling beds in the vegetable rows. Now, if you don't know what a Sumi Soaker is, let's go and have a look. So some people call these a lie flat. This is a brilliant little invention from Japan, hence the Sumi Soaker. And they come with a tap, of course. Now this system is a 50-meter tube that comes on like a fire hose roller or a garden hose roller. It's very easy to put out. You just walk them out and they will spray a fine mist 4 meters each side. Now this is brilliant for these sorts of veggie rows here, especially when the seedlings are that big, or you've direct seeded and there's a lot of seedlings hiding under the hay there. Then you can just spray this and every plant will get something. So these aren't cheap, they're about $4.50 Australian, but essential in starting new seed beds or even cover crop rows. It's a brilliant way to get a 4-meter patch of water completely, or area completely soaked. A little bit more accurate than the flickers or the warblers that some people use. And some guys find that those other overhead irrigations are suitable and will work well for them. That's great. But they're just the 3 kinds of irrigation that we use here. And each one has its own purpose. Now, just a note in regards to trickle tape, as we've shown before, we're lazy farmers and we like to leave our trickle tape permanently under the mulch. So our intention is to continually lay hay mulch down and not disturb this trickle tape. So we just leave it there and it stays nice and protected under there. When we plant our seedlings, we just feel around, you can find where the trickle tape is and put your little seedling next to it. and that can even happen in hay they're thick. So this is another efficiency. We're not rolling up tape everywhere and resetting it every time we do a row. This pretty much is a perma bed and in line with the no till and kill policy. So there's some thoughts on irrigation. Now this might be a bit daunting for the smaller gardeners of you, or it might be a little too expensive. Well, there's nothing wrong with trialling Syntropics without any irrigation, as long as the mulch is thick enough. The moisture will stay locked in the soil, hopefully from rain to rain, and particularly with the tree rows, they're mimicking a forest anyway. The whole point of Syntropics is to mimic a natural forest, and as you know, nobody ever irrigated or fertilised a natural forest. So if we can mimic nature as much as possible, we don't have to spend all of this money. You can easily make some of these tree rows in your area without any irrigation, depending on your rainfall, but that's your call. We've chosen to do it this way because we're a little bit more commercial, and we do have long dry winters, and so we've got to hedge our bets a little bit. So I hope that's given you some ideas about irrigation. Of course, they're not the definitive answer, it's just in context here on our farm. You might have better ideas than us, and we very much would welcome you to share those ideas with us, because there's no set way, and we like to learn from other people too. So leave your thoughts in the comments, hit like and subscribe if you like, and we'll catch you on the next video, number 31. It's over and out from Farmer Jones at Fig Tree Organic Farm, Queensland, Australia.